Hello and welcome to the mind map about the chain of infection. We're going to go through all of the steps and then look at how to break the chain. Number one is infectious agent. And there are 4 types of infectious agent. There is a virus that is acellular, which means it's not made of cells. Most viruses are about 100 nanometers. They have a protein coat called a capsid, and they can have an outer lipid envelope. They can't replicate independently, so they need to infect cells, take over the cell, and then use the cell to make more viruses. Then we have bacteria. Bacteria are prokaryotic, which means they've got no membrane-bound organelles. They have a cell wall made of peptidoglycan, and they reproduce through binary fission. Next is protists. They are single-celled aquatic eukaryotic organisms. They are very diverse, almost like the junk drawer of classification. Anything that doesn't fit into the others gets put into being a protist. They reproduce sexually using gametes or asexually using binary fission. Then there's fungi. Fungi are eukaryotic, but they have a cell wall made of chitin. They reproduce either asexually using budding or sexually using the fusion of gametes from zoospores. Number 2 is the reservoir. A reservoir is a place where the pathogen spends some part of its life cycle. Humans can be a reservoir for disease, but so can animals and so can plants. The environment can also be a reservoir. The soil can hold Phytophthora and water can hold malaria. Number 3 is the portal of exit. The portal of exit is the way that the pathogen leaves the host. They can do so through the respiratory tract, through the digestive tract, through skin lesions, through mucous membranes, through blood and other bodily fluids, and in case of plants, through damaged roots. Number 4 is the mode of transmission, which is how the pathogen travels between hosts. The first big subdivision is whether it's direct or indirect. Direct requires close proximity. It can either be horizontal, which is the passing on of a pathogen between hosts, or it can be vertical, which is from mother to baby. Indirect is using fomites, which are things that are inanimate, like banknotes or unsterilized tools. Then we've got a major one, which is the respiratory system. Now, if the mucus particle coming out of the respiratory system is larger than 5 microns, we call it a respiratory droplet. And these normally fall straight to the ground within about a meter. If it's less than 5 microns, we call it an aerosol, and that can spread a couple of meters. But if the mucus droplet dries out or desiccates, we call it a droplet nuclei, and it can remain suspended for up to 30 minutes. Then we have biological vectors, which are animals that transmit disease from one host to another. For instance, the Anopheles mosquito in malaria. Then we've got inanimate transmission. We call these vehicles. So we've got waterborne, foodborne, and soil-borne. And we come across the idea of a zoonose or a zoonotic disease, which is a pathogen that can be transmitted between vertebrate species, and in particular to humans. Number 5 is the portal of entry, which, as we said before, is very similar to the portal of exit. It's through the respiratory system, through the digestive system, the mucosa, the lesions. The word inoculation just means to be bitten or to pierce the skin, and placental is for vertical transmission across the placenta from mother to baby. Then we need to have a susceptible host, which means a host that is able to be infected. So the ways to be susceptible are: you've never been exposed before, so you've got no natural immunity. You're unvaccinated, so you've got no artificial immunity. You're elderly, so you've got a weakened immune system. You're a baby and you don't really have any immune system apart from the immunity you acquire from your mother's antibodies in the breast milk. If you're immunocompromised, you have a weakened immunity. If you're immunodeficient, you've also got a weakened immunity. If you've got some underlying chronic illnesses, that also weakens your immune system. Malnutrition, which means you don't get the right nutrition, and that leads to a poor immune system. Then you might have a genetic predisposition. For instance, the link between sickle cell anemia and malaria. You might have an inherited disorder like cystic fibrosis, where you've got a large amount of thick, sticky mucus in your lungs, and bacteria and viruses love to live in it. Your behavior might influence whether you're susceptible. If you smoke, you're going to have very damaged lungs, and therefore you'll get lots of respiratory illnesses like tuberculosis. If you've got poor hygiene, you're going to increase the opportunity for the spread of disease. And if you've got inadequate sanitation, again, you've got an increased opportunity for the spread of disease. Now, how do we break the chain? Well, there are public education programs so that everyone understands the risks of their behavior and their lifestyle and their diet, etc. Respiratory hygiene is super important. Wearing of a mask so you don't spread your flu symptoms. In vaccination, the population can gain herd immunity. Surveillance means watching out for disease outbreaks and then doing something about it. Animal control means lowering the reservoir of possible pathogens or vectors. Hygiene means to remove the traces of pathogens from your body. Having sanitation means you prevent the opportunity for amplification. Vector control means you're killing the mosquitoes to prevent the spread of disease. Wound care means you're dressing your lesions so there's not that easy spread of disease. Physical barriers mean that you're putting something over your skin to prevent transmission. Quarantine means isolating potentially infected individuals until at least the incubation period is over before releasing them into the population. Thank you for listening. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope it's been helpful. Like and subscribe if you like, and I'll catch you later. Vectors.